Have you ever felt that as you get older, you somehow become invisible? That your skills and life experiences fade into the background? Well, I'm here to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. In this story, we're going to uncover 8 unique skills that actually make you incredibly valuable, a true gem in your 70s and 80s. These aren't skills you learn in a classroom or from a textbook. They're skills honed by years of living, loving, learning, and sometimes stumbling. Stick around, because by the end, you'll see that your golden years are truly golden, filled with strengths you might not even realize you possess. Once upon a time, in a quiet town nestled beside a sparkling lake, lived an old woman named Elsie. Elsie was approaching her 80th birthday, and though she was surrounded by loving family and friends, she couldn't shake the feeling that her best days were behind her. She'd spent her life raising children, tending to her garden, and volunteering at the local library. Now her children were grown with families of their own. Her garden was mostly tended by her grandson, and her eyesight wasn't what it used to be for reading stacks of books. Elsie spent her days sitting on her porch, watching the world go by. She saw young couples holding hands, children playing tag in the park, and business people rushing to and from their offices. She felt a pang of longing for those vibrant, energetic days, but knew that her time for such things had passed. Or so she thought. One sunny afternoon, Elsie's granddaughter Sarah came to visit. Sarah was a bright, ambitious young woman just starting her career as a social worker. She was full of enthusiasm, but also overwhelmed by the challenges she faced. "Grandma," Sarah said, plopping down beside Elsie on the porch swing, "I'm having such a tough time at work. There's this one family I'm trying to help, but I just can't seem to break through. They're so resistant to everything I suggest." Elsie listened patiently, her eyes twinkling with understanding. When Sarah finished, Elsie didn't offer a quick fix or a pat answer. Instead, she simply said, "Tell me more about the family, dear. What do you know about their lives, their struggles?" Sarah began to describe the family, their history, their personalities, and their current situation. As she spoke, Elsie asked gentle, probing questions, not interrupting, not judging, just listening intently. After an hour, Sarah stopped, feeling a sense of clarity she hadn't felt before. "Grandma," she said, "just talking to you has helped me see things in a new light. You didn't tell me what to do, but you helped me understand the situation better. How did you do that?" Elsie smiled, a knowing glint in her eyes. "Well, dear," she said, "I've had a lot of practice listening over the years. Sometimes, the best way to help someone is to simply hear them out, without interrupting or offering unsolicited advice. People just want to feel understood." This was Elsie's first unique skill, the art of empathetic listening. Years of listening to her children, her husband, her friends, and even strangers had honed her ability to truly hear what people were saying, both verbally and non-verbally. She could pick up on the unspoken emotions, the hidden anxieties, and the underlying needs that others often missed. This skill made her a pillar of support in her community, a person people naturally turned to in times of trouble. A few days later, Elsie was at the local community center, attending a meeting about a proposed new development that threatened to displace many longtime residents. The meeting was tense, with people shouting and arguing, each side convinced they were right. The younger people were eager to fight with protests and petitions, while the older ones were scared and resigned to their fate. As the meeting spiraled out of control, Elsie stood up. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the room, silencing the bickering. "Friends," she said, "we're all here because we care about this community. Let's not let anger divide us. Let's try to understand each other's concerns and find a solution that works for everyone." She then proceeded to calmly and respectfully address each side's arguments, highlighting the common ground they shared and suggesting compromises that could benefit everyone. She had the amazing ability to bridge building and conflict resolution ***. People listened to her, not just because of her age, but because of her ability to see all sides of an issue and find common ground. She wasn't afraid to disagree, but she always did so with respect and empathy. She could see the bigger picture, the long-term consequences of their actions, and she could guide them towards solutions that were both practical and ethical. The community center leader, Mr. Johnson, was amazed. After the meeting, he approached Elsie and said, "Elsie, you have a gift. You have a way of bringing people together that I've never seen before. You should be leading these meetings." Elsie laughed. "Oh, Mr. Johnson," she said, "I'm too old to be leading anything, but I'm happy to help in any way I can." Sarah overheard the conversation. She saw a spark of excitement in her grandmother's eyes, a spark she hadn't seen in a long time. She realized that Elsie's skills were not fading with age, but rather they were becoming more valuable than ever. Another day, Elsie was helping her grandson, Tom, with his college application essay. Tom was struggling to write about himself, to articulate his goals and aspirations. He had plenty of ideas, but he was finding it hard to weave them into a cohesive narrative. Elsie sat beside him, patiently listening to his rambling thoughts. She didn't offer to write the essay for him, but she asked him questions that helped him clarify his ideas and organize his thoughts. She had the skill of mentorship and guidance asterisk. She shared her life experiences with him, offering insights and perspectives that he couldn't have gained on his own. She helped him connect with his own values and find his own voice. "Grandma," Tom said, "you're like a writing coach. How do you know what questions to ask?" Elsie smiled. "Well, dear," she said, "I've been telling stories my whole life. I know how to ask the right questions to get to the heart of the matter." Elsie had spent years spinning tales to entertain her children and grandchildren. These weren't just any stories, they were filled with wisdom, humor, and life lessons. She had the ability to storytelling and preservation of history asterisk. She could weave a narrative that captivated her audience and transported them to another time and place. She could make history come alive, not just as a series of dates and facts, but as a collection of human experiences. She understood the power of stories to connect people, to teach them about themselves and the world around them, and to preserve their cultural heritage. One day, Elsie was browsing through a local antique shop when she stumbled upon a dusty old photograph album. The photographs were faded and torn, but Elsie could still make out the faces of the people in them. She recognized some of them as members of her community, people she had known for years. As she flipped through the pages, she realized that the album was a treasure trove of local history. It documented the lives and experiences of the people who had built the town, their struggles and their triumphs. Elsie knew that this album needed to be preserved and shared with the community. She had the skill of asterisk appreciation for history and heritage asterisk. She approached the shop owner and offered to help him identify the people in the photographs and research the stories behind them. The shop owner was thrilled. Together, they created a display of the photographs, along with descriptions of the people and events they depicted. The display became a popular attraction, drawing visitors from far and wide. Elsie's knowledge and passion for history brought the past to life for a new generation. Elsie was always calm and steady during times of crises in the community. During a severe storm when the electricity went out in her neighborhood, everyone started panicking. Elsie, however, calmly gathered her neighbors and shared her food, blankets, and candles. She kept everyone's spirits up by telling stories and singing songs. She was a beacon of hope. Her skill, resilience, and calm under pressure asterisk was always on display. After the storm, the community came together to clean up the damage and help those in need. Elsie, despite her age, was right there with them, pitching in wherever she could. Her ability to stay calm and focused during the crisis had inspired others to do the same. As Elsie continued to engage with her community, she found herself rediscovering her purpose and passion. She realized that her age was not a liability, but an asset. Her years of experience had given her a unique perspective and a set of skills that were invaluable to those around her. Elsie started a small, informal wisdom circle at the community center where she would meet with young people and share her life experiences. She taught them about the importance of listening, empathy, and resilience. She helped them connect with their own values and find their own voices. This displayed her patience and understanding asterisk. She continued to volunteer at the library, helping children with their reading and sharing her love of books. She also started a gardening club, where she taught people how to grow their own food and connect with nature. Elsie's life was full again, not in the same way it had been when she was younger, but in a deeper, more meaningful way. She had found her purpose not in doing, but in being. She had embraced her age and found joy in sharing her wisdom and experience with others. One evening, as Elsie sat on her porch, watching the sunset over the lake, Sarah joined her. "Grandma," Sarah said, "I'm so proud of you. You've become such an inspiration to me and to so many others." Elsie smiled. "Well, dear," she said, "I'm just trying to make the most of the time I have left. I've learned that age is not a barrier to living a fulfilling life. In fact, it can be a gift." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. Elsie replied, "As we age, we develop unique skills and perspectives that can make a real difference in the world. We have the wisdom of experience, the patience of time, and the compassion of a life well lived. We can use these skills to mentor the next generation, to bridge divides, to preserve our history, and to inspire others to live with purpose and joy. In our 70s and 80s, we have the power to become true gems, shining brightly for all to see. One of those skills is being able to finding joy in simple things asterisk, being able to appreciate a sunset, the smell of rain, the laughter of children. Another unique skill that Elsie possessed was her unwavering optimism and hope asterisk asterisk. She always looked for the good in people and situations, even when things seemed bleak. This positive attitude was contagious, inspiring others to believe in themselves and their ability to overcome challenges. Elsie's final skill was her acceptance of change and impermanence asterisk asterisk. She understood that life is a constant process of change, and she embraced it with grace and resilience. She didn't cling to the past, but rather she learned from it and used it to inform her present. And so, Elsie lived out her days, not as an invisible old woman, but as a shining gem, radiating wisdom, compassion, and joy to all who knew her. She proved that age is not a limitation, but an opportunity to share the unique gifts that come with a life well lived. She became a role model for her community, reminding everyone that it is never too late to make a difference in the world. The end. Have you ever thought about what makes some people shine as they grow older? It's not about chasing youth, but about embracing the unique strengths that time and experience bring. In this story, we'll explore 8 special skills that can make you a true gem in your 70s and 80s. These aren't skills you learn in a classroom, but qualities you cultivate through life's journey. They're about connecting with others, finding joy in simple things, and sharing the wisdom you've gained. Join us as we uncover these treasures that can make your golden years truly radiant. Imagine a small town nestled beside a sparkling lake. In this town lived a woman named Eleanor. Eleanor wasn't famous or wealthy, but she possessed a quiet strength and a warm smile that could light up any room. She was in her late 70s, and people often sought her advice and company. Eleanor wasn't always wise, but she had a knack for understanding people and offering comfort when it was needed most. She embodied the first skill we'll explore, deep listening. Eleanor had a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world when she listened to you. She wouldn't interrupt or offer quick solutions, but simply held space for your thoughts and feelings. Her eyes, crinkled with years of laughter and perhaps a few tears, would meet yours with genuine interest. She might nod occasionally or offer a gentle, "I understand," but mostly she just listened. One day, a young man named Thomas came to Eleanor feeling lost and discouraged. He had recently graduated from college but couldn't find a job he was passionate about. He felt like a failure and was starting to doubt his abilities. He poured out his worries to Eleanor, his voice laced with frustration. Eleanor listened patiently, her gaze unwavering. When he finally finished, she remained silent for a moment, allowing her words to settle. "Thomas," she said softly, "it sounds like you're carrying a heavy burden. It's okay to feel lost sometimes. It's part of finding your way." She didn't offer him a job or a magic solution, but her simple acceptance of his feelings made him feel seen and validated. He realized that just being heard and understood had lifted a weight off his shoulders. Eleanor's deep listening had given him the space to breathe and find his own answers. The second skill that makes people shine in their later years is the ability to find joy in simple pleasures. It's about appreciating the small things that often go unnoticed in the rush of daily life. It's about savoring a cup of tea, watching a sunset, or spending time with loved ones. It's about finding contentment in the present moment, rather than chasing after elusive goals. Henry, an 80-year-old widower, exemplified this skill perfectly. After his wife passed away, he could have easily succumbed to loneliness and despair. But instead, he discovered a new appreciation for the simple things in life. He started tending a small garden on his balcony, nurturing tomatoes, herbs, and colorful flowers. He found joy in the feel of the soil in his hands, the warmth of the sun on his face, and the vibrant colors of the blossoms. Every morning, he would sit on his balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the birds flit among the flowers. He would observe the changing light and shadows, the gentle breeze rustling the leaves, and the busy life of the city unfolding below. These moments of quiet contemplation filled him with a sense of peace and gratitude. Henry also discovered the joy of reading aloud to children. He volunteered at the local library, where he would read stories to a group of eager youngsters. He loved the sound of their laughter, their wide-eyed wonder, and their innocent questions. Sharing his love of stories with them brought him a sense of purpose and connection. Henry found joy not in grand adventures or material possessions, but in the simple, everyday moments that filled his heart with warmth. The third skill is the art of gentle humor. It's about being able to laugh at yourself, to find the funny side of life's challenges, and to bring a smile to the faces of others. It's not about telling jokes or being a comedian, but about having a lighthearted approach to life and a willingness to see the absurdity in everyday situations. Agnes, a lively 72-year-old, was a master of gentle humor. She had a twinkle in her eye and a mischievous smile that hinted at a playful spirit. She never took herself too seriously and was always ready with a witty remark or a self-deprecating joke. One time, Agnes was at the grocery store when she accidentally bumped into a display of canned goods, sending them tumbling to the floor. Instead of getting flustered or embarrassed, she burst out laughing. "Well," she said to the startled shoppers, "I guess I just created a new kind of grocery art. Anyone want to buy a canned pyramid?" Her laughter was contagious, and soon everyone was chuckling along with her. Agnes's gentle humor wasn't just about making people laugh. It was about diffusing tension, creating connection, and reminding everyone not to take life too seriously. It was a gift that she shared freely, bringing joy and lightness to every situation. The fourth skill is embracing lifelong learning. It's about staying curious, seeking new knowledge, and never stopping to grow. It's about recognizing that learning is a lifelong journey, not just something you do in school. It's about keeping your mind active, your spirit engaged, and your perspective fresh. George, a retired history teacher in his late 70s, was a shining example of lifelong learning. After retiring, he could have easily settled into a routine of watching television and reminiscing about the past. But instead, he embarked on a new adventure of learning and discovery. He started taking online courses in subjects that had always interested him, such as astronomy, art history, and philosophy. He joined a book club where he engaged in lively discussions about literature and ideas. He attended lectures and workshops on a variety of topics, from gardening to computer programming. George wasn't learning for a grade or a job, he was learning for the sheer joy of it. He loved the feeling of expanding his knowledge, challenging his assumptions, and connecting with new people. He discovered that learning kept his mind sharp, his spirit young, and his life full of purpose. The fifth skill is sharing your stories and wisdom. It's about recognizing the value of your experiences and passing them on to others. It's about becoming a mentor, a guide, and a source of inspiration for younger generations. It's about leaving a legacy of knowledge, values, and insights. Maria, an 85-year-old grandmother, was a natural storyteller. She had lived through many historical events and had a wealth of experiences to share. She loved telling her grandchildren stories about her childhood, her travels, and her career. She would weave tales of hardship and resilience, of love and loss, and of hope and triumph. Her stories weren't just entertaining, they were also filled with valuable life lessons. She taught her grandchildren about the importance of hard work, the power of forgiveness, and the beauty of diversity. She instilled in them a sense of empathy, compassion, and respect for others. Maria understood that her stories were a precious gift, a way of connecting with her grandchildren and passing on her wisdom. She knew that her experiences could help them navigate their own lives, learn from her mistakes, and make the world a better place. The sixth skill is cultivating intergenerational connections. It's about building relationships with people of different ages, learning from their perspectives, and bridging the gap between generations. It's about recognizing that each generation has something valuable to offer and that we can all benefit from connecting with one another. David, a 70-year-old retired engineer, was passionate about fostering intergenerational connections. He volunteered at a local school, where he mentored students in science and math. He also joined a community garden, where he worked alongside young people to grow fresh produce for the local food bank. David loved learning from the young people he worked with. He was impressed by their creativity, their energy, and their passion for social justice. He also enjoyed sharing his own experiences and knowledge with them. He taught them about engineering principles, problem-solving skills, and the importance of perseverance. David believed that intergenerational connections were essential for building strong communities and creating a more inclusive society. He saw that when people of different ages came together, they could learn from one another, challenge their assumptions, and create positive change. The seventh skill is practicing gratitude. It's about taking time to appreciate the good things in your life, no matter how small. It's about focusing on what you have, rather than what you lack. It's about cultivating a sense of thankfulness for the blessings in your life, both big and small. Sarah, a 78-year-old woman who had faced many challenges in her life, was a master of gratitude. She had lost her husband to cancer, struggled with health problems, and experienced financial difficulties. But despite these hardships, she always maintained a positive attitude and a grateful heart. Every morning, Sarah would start her day by writing down 3 things she was grateful for. They could be simple things, like a warm cup of coffee, a sunny day, or a phone call from a friend. But by focusing on these positive aspects of her life, she was able to cultivate a sense of joy and contentment. Sarah also made a point of expressing her gratitude to others. She would thank the grocery store clerk for their friendly service, the bus driver for their safe driving, and her neighbors for their kindness and support. She understood that expressing gratitude not only made others feel good, but also enhanced her own sense of well-being. The eighth, and perhaps most important skill, is embracing change and adapting to new circumstances. It's about recognizing that life is a constant process of change, and that the ability to adapt is essential for survival and well-being. It's about being open to new ideas, new experiences, and new ways of doing things. Robert, an 82-year-old man who had witnessed many technological advancements in his lifetime, was a testament to the power of adaptability. He had learned to use computers, smartphones, and social media, despite having no prior experience. He embraced these new technologies not only because they made his life easier, but also because they allowed him to stay connected with his family and friends. Robert understood that the world was constantly changing and that he needed to adapt to stay relevant. He was always willing to learn new things, to try new experiences, and to challenge his own assumptions. He embraced change not as a threat but as an opportunity for growth and discovery. Eleanor, Henry, Agnes, George, Maria, David, Sarah, and Robert, each in their own way, embodied these 8 unique skills that made them true gems in their 70s and 80s. They showed that aging is not about decline but about growth, wisdom, and connection. They demonstrated that the golden years can be a time of joy, purpose, and fulfillment. They reminded everyone that the most valuable treasures are not material possessions or youthful looks, but the qualities that make us human: our ability to listen, to find joy, to laugh, to learn, to share, to connect, to be grateful, and to adapt. These are the skills that truly make us shine, no matter our age. But let's delve deeper into how these skills manifest in everyday life and why they hold such power. Embracing lifelong learning. Imagine Sarah, a vibrant 75-year-old who always felt intimidated by technology. Instead of dismissing it as too complicated, she enrolled in a computer class at the local community center. Initially, she struggled with the basics, turning on the computer, using a mouse. But with patience and persistence, she mastered email, learned to video call her grandchildren, and even discovered online gardening forums where she shared tips and connected with fellow enthusiasts. This newfound skill opened up a whole new world for Sarah, combating feelings of isolation and giving her a sense of accomplishment. Learning, even in our later years, keeps our minds sharp, boosts our self-esteem, and allows us to connect with the ever-changing world around us. It's about curiosity, not necessarily academic achievement. Storytelling and wisdom sharing. Consider George, an 82-year-old veteran with a treasure trove of stories from his time in the service and his years working as a carpenter. For years, these stories remained largely untold, gathering dust like old photographs in an attic. But then, a local school invited him to speak to a history class. He shared his experiences, not just the factual details, but the emotions, the fears, the camaraderie, the lessons he learned. The students were captivated. They asked questions, eager to hear more. George realized the power of his stories, their ability to connect with younger generations, to impart wisdom, and to keep history alive. Storytelling isn't just about recounting events. It's about sharing our experiences, our perspectives, and the lessons we've learned along the way. It's about leaving a legacy of knowledge and understanding. Cultivating empathy and compassion. Think about Maria, a 78-year-old widow who volunteers at a local soup kitchen. Having experienced loss and loneliness herself, she has a deep understanding of the struggles others face. She doesn't just serve food, she offers a listening ear, a warm smile, and a genuine connection. She remembers people's names, asks about their lives, and offers words of encouragement. Her empathy is palpable, creating a sense of community and belonging for those who often feel invisible. Empathy and compassion are not just noble qualities, they are essential for building strong relationships, fostering understanding, and creating a more just and compassionate world. Practicing patience and forgiveness. Imagine Robert, an 80-year-old who spent years holding onto resentment towards his estranged son. A disagreement decades ago had created a rift that seemed irreparable. But as Robert grew older, he began to realize the toll the anger was taking on his own well-being. He decided to reach out, to forgive, and to try to rebuild the relationship. It wasn't easy, but with patience and understanding they began to reconnect. Robert learned that holding onto anger only hurts the person holding it. Forgiveness, while often difficult, is a gift we give ourselves. It frees us from the burden of resentment and allows us to move forward with peace and grace. Patience, similarly, allows us to navigate the complexities of relationships and life with greater understanding and acceptance. Finding joy in simple pleasures. Consider Alina, a 76-year-old who finds immense joy in the simple act of birdwatching. Every morning, she sits on her porch with a cup of tea and a pair of binoculars, observing the birds in her garden. She knows their names, their songs, their habits. She finds beauty in their colors, their movements, their interactions. For Alina, birdwatching is more than just a hobby. It's a source of peace, wonder, and connection to nature. Finding joy in simple pleasures is a key to happiness at any age, but it becomes especially important as we grow older. It's about appreciating the small things, the everyday moments that often go unnoticed. It's about finding beauty in the ordinary and cultivating a sense of gratitude for all that we have. Maintaining a sense of humor. Think of Arthur, a 79-year-old who can always find a reason to laugh, even in the face of adversity. He tells jokes, shares funny stories, and finds humor in everyday situations. His laughter is infectious, bringing joy to those around him. Arthur understands that laughter is a powerful medicine, capable of relieving stress, boosting morale, and strengthening relationships. A sense of humor allows us to cope with the challenges of aging with grace and resilience. It helps us to maintain a positive outlook, to connect with others, and to find joy in the midst of difficulty. Cultivating gratitude. Consider Margaret, an 81-year-old who keeps a gratitude journal. Every day, she writes down 3 things she is grateful for, no matter how small. It might be the sunshine, a phone call from a friend, or a delicious meal. By focusing on the positive aspects of her life, Margaret cultivates a sense of contentment and appreciation. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. It helps us to appreciate the good things in our lives and to find joy in the present moment. Adapting to change. Finally, remember James, a 77-year-old who embraced the changes that came with retirement. Instead of clinging to his old routines, he explored new hobbies, volunteered in his community, and traveled to new places. He adapted to the changes in his body, his relationships, and his life circumstances with grace and resilience. Adapting to change is essential for navigating the challenges of aging. It allows us to embrace new opportunities, to learn new skills, and to find new meaning and purpose in our lives. It's about flexibility, resilience, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. These are the skills that truly make us shine, not just in our 70s and 80s, but throughout our lives. They are the keys to a life filled with purpose, joy, and connection.